Imagine if your body is the only car you get. What if you actually had a way to build and upgrade your car, right? Because it's the only thing you get for the rest of your life. You're the only one who have the ability to actually do it. That is where the TMAN method comes into play. The TMAN method, as we established in the other video, is built on 4 foundations, right? And this method is the most powerful method that helps you to build, not just build a powerful physique or powerful athletic physique, but to be able to sustain it, right? You don't just build it and that's it. You build it and it keeps you in shape all year round, because now you've actually created a system or a method that you can use for the rest of your life, right? And it's built on 4 foundations. First foundation is training. Training. Now, this is called the engine. All right. Then we have the mindset, which we call the performance booster. Right. Then we have the accountability. The accountability, which is the GPS. GPS. And then, lastly, we have the nutrition, which we call the fuel. You have to use either, you could use the training and the mindset, training plus the mindset, or accountability plus the nutrition. You could use both to actually improve or get to your desired results, right? If you want to lose weight, you can use the accountability and nutrition, and you don't even touch the training, you don't even touch the mindset, and you will actually lose weight, right? Because you're eating healthy and you have some sort of system or mechanism to keep you accountable, right? Which is the GPS, to make sure you're on the right path and you're not, hitting any bumpy roads. But what we want to do is learn all of these, right? That was a bit wobbly. But we want to learn all of these. We want to master, not even master, understand how to actually create, right, our own system using the TMAN method. Today, we're going to start with the training. We're going to start with the engine. The reason why I want you to learn all 4 is because the accountability and nutrition, yes, you can lose weight, but you won't have that powerful athletic physique. And that is exactly what we want to build. We want to build a physique that is strong, functional, powerful, but also keeps us in shape all year round. That is the goal. So we are going to be focusing on the tailored training. How do we create our own training style, right? And not only create our own training style, but create a progressive, a structured training that gives us the ability to progress the overload and also, get the best bang for our buck. So training, which I call the engine. That's the focus for today. Without this, you can't move forward in terms of what we actually want to do, right? We've already established that we want to build a powerful athletic physique that stays in shape all year round, right? So this is actually one thing that is very, very important that we must master, right? How do we structure our own training style? Whatever you want to call it, working out, calisthenics, gym, whatever, right? This is the action you take towards getting to that goal, right? It's the same thing as prayer. Faith without action is dead, right? This is the same thing. You have to take the action. So we are going to focus on how to actually create your own training style. Before we structure our program, we need to understand one thing. We need to understand what compound movements are, right? Because this sets everything up. It sets everything up. Compound movements are exercises or movements that allows us to train multiple muscle groups at the same time, right? So more than one, or let me just use muscle group at the same time. This is actually the main thing we're going to be using to actually build that powerful and athletic physique, right? And there are certain muscle groups that obviously you'll isolate more later on, because if you're deficient in certain things, you need to work on that thing specifically to make sure that you progress. So it's the same thing as calisthenics, it's the same thing as gym. Let's say you don't like how your bicep looks, or you don't like how your chest is, or your abs if you don't have any core, then isolating those movements would be ideal, right? But the most important thing to build power and to build strength is focusing on compound movements. So now we understand this. Now, the first thing that we do in order to build our engine or build our own style of training is create a test, because you need to know how far you are from your goal. In order to create your own training style, you need to first test yourself, right? Test yourself on the move or on the things that you want to improve in, right? So, for example, for me, so I wanted to learn calisthenics while also building muscle, right? I didn't want to just be skinny and training calisthenics. I wanted to be absolutely fucking insane with everything, right? Gym, calisthenics, performance. I just liked sports overall. So what I did first, before I created my own style of training, is I tested myself. Now, for the general individual who doesn't necessarily want to learn a skill, you only go through one test, right? You only go through one test. And for those who want to learn a skill, you do two tests. And this should only take 2 weeks to actually perform, right? You only need 2 weeks to do all of this. And it will be a handful, but you're not here for, you're not here to just chill, right? Now, also, another pro tip, it doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't have to look fancy. What I usually use to kind of measure everything is a book, just a notebook. Just get a notebook off Amazon and just write your tests, write your program, write your style of training. That is all you need, right? So I don't even know if I could draw it, but fuck it, we're gonna try anyway. My pathetic attempt on drawing a book. All right, so notes, book. Right, so this is all. This is it becomes your Bible, right? This is what I call it anyway. I call it my fitness Bible, right? Because the notebook that I use, the reason why I like to use my notebook instead of a phone is because when you're writing it down, even if you forget your book or even if you forget your notebook, you are always going to remember it. It helps you to remember something when you write it down. So that's why I always write down everything that I'm doing, my training style, my programs, my tests, everything. So the first thing you're going to do with this book is test yourself. Strength and endurance test. We want to build our strength, we want to build our endurance. Now, the endurance could be is muscular endurance and also cardiovascular endurance as well, right? We combine the two together. In those tests, you use compound movements. So compound movements like deadlifts, bench press, pull-ups, weighted pull-ups. You could do weighted dips for the calisthenics enthusiasts. This is what I call that street lifting, right? I don't know, a lot of people call it different things, but I call it street lifting, right? And once you've gotten the results from this, now another pro tip. This is the best time to actually record where you are right now, right? As you currently are in terms of your physique, in terms of your strength, in terms of your endurance, in terms of your power, whatever. This is how you become an influencer. So you record yourself at your current state now, like how fit you are, whatever. You always record your physique, back to front, good lighting or whatever. You could do bad lighting, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But there needs to be evidence so you can see how much you've actually progressed. Right? That is actually very, very important. On top of the notebook, you actually need to record yourself. Record your the exercises, record your physique, take pictures, everything. Do everything, right? Because in this test, it's to see where you are right now. And you won't be like that in 12 weeks' time. You won't be like that in 6 months' time. You won't be like that in a year's time. So you need to be able to look back and actually see how much you've actually progressed. So that actually is the best indication to show you that you are actually doing something, right? You're training. You're not just working out. You're actually training, right? Training means that you're always progressing. You're always becoming stronger. So first, we do let's say we do a pull test, right? Pull test is how strong is your pull or your pulling power, right? You do 1 rep maxes, 3 rep max, and that's how you measure the strength, right? For pull, you do. Yo, I look crazy right now. So for pull, you do 1 rep max, 1 rep max and 3 rep max. For push, same thing. Now for this part of the test, you're only testing your strength. 1 rep max, 3 rep max, legs, same thing. This part of the test is to measure how strong you are, right? But you use compound movements because remember what we said before? Compound movements is to help us build multiple muscle groups at the same time, right? So we are testing that. So it could be, let's say, weighted pulls, weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, weighted push-ups, deadlifts, bench press, right? Squats for legs, and then we then focus on endurance as well, right? Endurance part would be the first part is obviously we want to do muscular endurance and also cardiovascular endurance. So what we do is the first phase is we test the max of the compound, right? The max of the compound movements. So let's say muscular endurance would be max body weight exercises, right? We'll say movements. All right, so max body weight movement. So like this is it would be the same thing as this. So it would be max body weight for pull-ups, max body weight for pull-ups, max body weight for dips, max body weight for push-ups, max body weight for squats. And those are the four foundational movements that you actually need to make sure that you are improving your muscular endurance, right? And because it's working on multiple muscle groups at the same time. Now, that's for muscular endurance, right? Let's measure. Let's make that stand out. So for muscular endurance, you measure your max body weight movements. Now, we also want to measure your cardiovascular endurance. We also want you to measure your cardiovascular endurance. So what we do is, you know what? I usually like to pick cardio that I would do instead of picking cardios that would, I would dread doing, because I want to make it fun, right? The whole goal of this is to make it a priority again, make fitness a priority again, right? So we want to make it fun and engaging, so you can always, have that thrill or have that zeal of, yes, I have a training session today. Yes, I'm going to the gym today. Yes, I am training for a purpose. You're training for purpose, right? There is a goal that you want to reach, and there is nothing that will stop you from actually getting to that goal. That's the goal. So for cardiovascular endurance, which also ties into muscular endurance, I usually do exercises that works on both. So for example, it could be skipping. So for cardio, let's just put cardio here. Cardio, endurance. You could do skipping. I do skipping, maybe assault bike, and that works on cardiovascular endurance and also muscular endurance, right? So you're working on both, right? And the reason why I say you're working on both is because you have to use your muscle for this to work, right? And you're not just going for a certain rep or how many times that you jump or how many times that you roll, but you're going for how long, right? How long you can endure it, which ties into the cardiovascular endurance. And I like to do this for skipping because you're building the muscular endurance, but you're going for more than 10 minutes, you're going for more than 20, 30. Sometimes I do an hour of skipping, right? That's literally the whole workout. And the same thing with this. Sometimes I do an hour on the assault bike because it's really, really good to improve your endurance and also improve your improve your endurance overall, your cardio and your muscular endurance. Right? So we focus on that. And for you sickos, you can also put in jogging in there as well. Right? You could do jogging as well. So that is how we measure the endurance part, right? How we test your endurance to see essentially where you are with that. In order for us to be powerful and athletic, we also need to focus on core, or how I like to put it, control. So that is another thing we focus on here, control. Essentially, how long can you hold a movement? So it's isometric control, right? Isometric movements. So isometric body weight movements, right? So isometric BW movements. That's how you measure control. How long can you hold it for? And you could probably set a max timer. You could probably set a max timer to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on what level you are. This can work for anyone. This can work for beginners who want to start their fitness journey. This could also work for athletes who are not necessarily training anymore, but want to just sustain, maintain, build their own training style. This helps. But not everyone has the time to do all of this, right? There are high performers, busy professionals who don't necessarily have time to start creating their own style of training or creating their own methods. And if you are a high performer and you don't necessarily have time to be focusing on all of this, and you want someone to help you to to build your own system, to build your own TMAN method, if you want someone to build the engine, the performance booster, the GPS, and also the fuel, to make sure that you are always, to make sure you have a system that you can actually rely on, and you can start building your physique straight off the bat, right? You don't necessarily need to go through all of this and go through the guesswork and trying to find out, is this actually working or not? And you can just start your training, start progressing, start seeing results week by week. Then I'll leave a description down below, and book in a call with me or my team, and we'll create your own TMAN method. We'll create your own engine so you can start working straight away to start getting the results that you deserve, right? But other than that, this is how you create your own engine. This is test number 1. This is the first test that you go through. Save this, screenshot it, and so you can come back to it later on, up to you, but I'm gonna clean off the board. Now we're gonna do the second test. Now this is for calisthenics enthusiasts, right? Those people who, I'd say this is actually for everyone, but some people just want to focus on gym, and which the first test actually solves. Once you've tested yourself, you can then measure and start building your own training style. But for the guys who want to not only build strength and endurance, but also learn skills at the same time, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. Right? I wanted to be muscular, be strong, but also be functional. To be honest, this will obviously get you functional. It doesn't matter if you go to the gym, it doesn't matter if you do calisthenics. Training like this or testing yourself like this and then applying compound movements to your exercises structure, like your workout style, will make you functional, right? But we don't want to be ordinary. We want to be extraordinary, right? We want to be absolutely insane beasts. So what we do is we also want to build skill, right? We're not doing this for no reason, right? In order to become a powerful, athletic individual that has a system or has a training style that that helps you to stay in shape all year round, we also want to build skill, right? And this is how once you master certain skills, you can then start training the strength and endurance with those certain skills. Like for me right now, when I'm doing the test, the strength and endurance test, I test my skill, right? So for example, handstand push-ups, 1 rep max of handstand push-ups, 3 rep max of handstand push-ups, endurance, same thing. And it's just, you're just building more skills that compound. For those who want to be strong, powerful, athletic individuals, we do another test, right? And we call that test 2, right? Test 2, skill based. This is obviously what it sounds like, right? You test yourself on the skills that you want to learn, right? So, for example, for simplicity's sake, we'll focus on handstand push-ups and muscle ups, right? So it's practically the same structure as test 1, which will be the pull, push, and also legs, and then control. right? But in everything that you're doing here, everything that you're doing for test 2 is actually control. But we test that further. So for obviously we're gonna do muscle up, progressions, pro, handstand HS progressions, and then let's say pistol squat progressions, and then we do L-sit progressions. L-sit prog. Right. So with the skill-based test, obviously you can test the actual skill itself. You can test the muscle up. You can test the handstand. You can test handstand push-ups as well, actually. But obviously, in order to do the handstand push-up, you need to learn the handstand. So handstand progressions, pistol squat progressions, L-sit progressions. Pistol squats, leg progressions. They're not actually that deep. Anyone can learn this. I don't even need to write progressions for this because it's extremely easy to learn. Right? You can do it in 5 days. It's not that deep. L-sit, kind of the same thing, but some people lack in core because they've never trained it in their life. So it's actually harder to do. Now, this is also how you build and become absolutely unstoppable, because the skill-based test is to learn the skills that you want to learn. But also, if you have learned the skills, then you are able to then transition all of this into the test 1, right? For example, like I said before, it's exactly what I do, right? So for strength and endurance tests, I test my skill as well. If you don't know how to muscle up, if you don't know how to handstand push up or hold a handstand, then what are you doing? This is 2025, right? You should know how to handstand, and you should know how to muscle up. You should know how to handstand push up. You should know how to hold a handstand. And if you aren't, and if you don't know how to do all of that, and you want to be a powerful, athletic individual, this should be 101. This should be the first thing that you do, right? So now, for example, some people could switch it. Some people could switch test 1 and test 2, right? So you do the test, you do the skill-based test first, and then you do the strength and endurance test, right? But obviously, because some people want to just improve their strength and endurance, they don't really care about learning skills. Then we focus. That's why we focus on these, because it's more generalized, right? Most people just want to focus on just strength and endurance. But for my absolutely sickos, like my monsters, we're gonna also do test 2, right? Skill-based test. And with the skill-based test, you test your max muscle up on the progressions, right? The progressions that you can actually do. So for muscle up progressions, it could be, you could do the kipping muscle ups, right? If you don't know how to muscle up, right, you could learn the kipping muscle ups, the handstand progressions, the pistol squats, L-sits, and then so on and so forth, right? But the reason why we also want to learn these skills is because once we actually master these skills, right, this is the beautiful thing about calisthenics, is because that's why you see a lot of shredded, lean, athletic athletes, like we call them calisthenics athletes, right? Because it's a compound movement. Most of these are compound movements. Muscle up helps to not only build your core, not only build your biceps, not only build your back, but also your forearms, also your wrist strength, also your grip strength. So they work on multiple muscle groups at the same time. That is why we want to build on these skills. That's why we want to learn them, so then we can then add them into the strength and endurance test. Right? You get so good at muscle ups that now you're doing 1 rep max of muscle ups. You get so good at handstand push ups, and then now you're doing weighted handstand push ups, 1 rep max, 3 rep max handstand push ups. Right? The same thing for all of these. So that's why we want to learn. That's why we also want to learn this, to build a powerful athletic physique. We also want to build upon calisthenic skills as well. So now this also is structured the same as the strength. Right? Now, once you have the results from all those 2 tests, then this is where the fun begins, right? This is where it starts to get exciting. You now focus on structuring your program. Remember, you're recording yourself, you're taking pictures, you're taking videos of your form, technique, strength, and how you are right now compared to where you would be in 6 months' time. Because this is the best indicator, this is the best proof that you understand what you're doing. This is the best proof that shows you that you're progressing, that shows you that you're improving every single day, every single week, every single year, every single month, right? So recording yourself, taking pictures is the best way to show, wow, look how far I've come, right? So I advise everyone to do that. And that's also how you become an influencer, right? Just post a transformation. That's a little bit of a hack. Post a transformation picture, and if it's insane, which it would be if you follow these, if you create your own TMAN method, your transformation would be absolutely fucking insane, right? And if you post that, you post the transformation from where you were before, where you are now, compared to where you will be in 6 months' time, or a year's time, or 12 weeks' time, then you'll blow, right? It will do numbers. But before we move on to that phase, I want you guys to actually do this, right? I want you to take action. The reason why I want to do it this way is because I don't want it to just be something that you watch and then, you know, some people just watch it and they don't really take action towards it. So the first phase that we need to focus on is creating your test. T1, strength and endurance, and then T2 is skill based. Now, this is the first phase of creating your own engine, right? Creating your own style of training. And the reason why I like this type of test is because it's just extremely simple to understand and extremely simple to follow. Because once you know every single layer of faults, and this is exactly why I also say record yourself when you're doing this. Record yourself in your testing phases, because that's the best indicator to show you how good your form is, to show you how good your technique is, to show you what you're actually lacking in, which areas you find fault in, right? If it's your physique, maybe your biceps, maybe you have a lot of fat in certain areas. You can see that in, you know, the pictures that you take. But in certain exercises, you can see where you're weak in, right? We don't want to just look good. We also want to perform our best, and we also want to create an atmosphere where we are absolutely fucking insane. Test 1, strength and endurance test, helps you to build insane strength already, right? You build a powerful athletic physique already, right, with the test 1. But test 2 just makes it even better. Test 2 is majority of people can't even do, 70% of men can't do pull-ups, can't do 5 pull-ups. So imagine if you start mastering your body weight even more, and then you start learning skills on top of that. People, like, their jaws will drop. When you go to the gym, people are like, what the fuck is this? They'll just look at you in awe, because they're like, holy shit, how did you get to this point? Right? And then they start asking you questions on how to actually, you know, improve their physique. And then you show them the TMAN method and say, hey, you can create your own program. And then you, anyway, yeah, so these are the 2 tests that you have to take. Now, I want there to be an action step at the end of every video. So what I want you guys to do is to create your own test phase. And then this is part 1, by the way. This is part 1 of training, right? Of creating your own engine. I'll put that as part 1 here, right? Part 1 of creating your own engine is, first, you go through the testing, right? Test 1 and test 2. Once you've built this, then get ready for part 2. And part 2 is where we actually create the structure of your program. This is part 1 of creating your own engine. And, you know, if you're a high performer and you don't necessarily have time to be focusing on this, regardless of how simple it is, right? You don't necessarily have the knowledge or the understanding of how to create your own engine, regardless of what we've gone through so far. Or you now understand it, but you want it to be done for you, then I'll leave a description down below where you can book in a call with me or my team, and then we can help you to create your own TMAN method, create your own engine, create your own fuel, create your own everything, right? To make sure that you're always getting the best bang for your buck, right? And to make sure that you're improving and progressing towards being a powerful and athletic individual. Now, that being said, this is the end of the video. And my name is Chibs Olympia, and this is the TMAN Method.